Hello and welcome to another episode of One Fall WrestleCast Live. Tom and I are back with you this week. We've got plenty of things to talk about over the last 2 weeks that was in pro wrestling. Pretty WWE heavy episode this week. Obviously, we found out what is in the box. Tom and I will talk about that, what our reaction was, what the internet's reaction was. Elimination Chamber obviously was a thing. Issues with the Vision, LA Knight, Janelle Grant, the Hall of Fame, all kinds of fun stuff. Let's get after it.
Welcome to the One Fall WrestleCast.
What's up, dude?
Nothing. Just trying to remember what is going on here. No person. I think that's school being delayed. Yeah.
Why is it snowing up there?
No, but it might be icy rain. They can leave a message. It'll be okay. Who calls it 9:42? They're the only ones that would call it 9:42.
Yeah, don't they know you operate on old man hours? You've already been in bed for like 3 hours at this point.
Yeah, right? Cold old man. Sit here in my hoodie. It's chilly outside. Anyway.
Yeah, well, not everybody can be in Arizona like my wife.
Yeah. I'd probably be really hot and complaining if I was.
She was in a pool all day today. She got to meet Michael Phelps today, which was like
That's
really
cool
for her. Yeah,
seems like to get to meet Michael Phelps, you got to hang out by a pool.
Yeah. She's actually at the Michael Phelps Foundation, like aquatic center in Phoenix. She's out there for a national games, Special Olympics coaching seminar, and seems like she's having a really good time. Can't wait till she comes home though, because
Good for her.
I'm lonely.
I hate that. I know. I hate that too. It's like you're no, have fun, and then they're gone, and you're like, this stinks. I don't like it.
The house is just it's a different quiet whenever everybody's not here. I mean, the boy's here, so that's been a lot of fun getting to hang out with him and do that stuff these last couple of days. But yeah, I'm ready for normal life again. So apologize for last week, folks. Obviously the episode went up. We had a little bit of a snafu, maybe a emergency, if you will. And by the time it all got sorted out, it was too late, and it was way past Grumpy Tom's bedtime. So we just decided to forego doing the show. Obviously, late start tonight. We will try and keep this tight so Tom can go night-night. See what I did there? So I want to start off with something real quick, buddy. The internet is in an uproar right now because apparently WWE has no plans for Royce Keys following his debut in the Royal Rumble, despite being backstage at several shows since the Rumble, including multiple episodes of SmackDown, which was said to be his assigned brand. Creative reportedly has nothing lined up for him at this time. It is also currently unclear when Keys will appear on WWE TV again at this time. Thoughts, comments, crises, concern on Powerhouse Hobbs?
No, crises, no. Concern, no. He's been on main event. He's had plenty of matches to sort of introduce himself, I guess, to the style of WWE. Those matches seem to have gone pretty well. They're on the internet if you want to see them. I think they're on YouTube actually. But this is kind of par for the course, particularly for a guy who you intend to put on the main roster without having spent any time in NXT, which seems to be the case with him. They did the same thing with Jade Cargill when she was first signed on. They showed she signed. You saw her flex once or twice in the back. She didn't say anything, and then they had her work matches on main event or dark matches, pretty much for 2 or 3 months prior to her getting a on-screen debut, a substantial on-screen debut. And who knows? We might see Royce Keys flexing somewhere. They just did, they just built up to Elimination Chamber. It doesn't. Where were you going to force him in right now, right before Elimination Chamber? So I would expect if we don't see him within the next week or so, we will be seeing him imminently, and I'm sure he'll make his presence known somehow, somewhere. But this isn't concerning to me. This is because he has, he debuted at the Royal Rumble, which was the 31st. And he's had 4 or 5 dark matches, or like main event or dark matches since then. And that totally makes sense to me because that's what they've done. Also, it getting out to the dirt sheets that, we don't know what we've got. We don't have anything for him. And the dirt sheets taking that run. Of course they're not going to give debuts and storyline answers to, hey, what are you guys doing with Royce Keys?
Yeah, especially, it's WrestleMania season too. Like we don't even know what direction we're headed with WrestleMania, let alone worrying about Royce Keys right now. You know what I mean? I think that old Powerhouse Hobbs is going to be just fine post WrestleMania, and I think that the internet needs to calm down a little bit.
That may be the general theme of the episode is the internet needs to calm down a little bit.
Yeah, I think the internet does need to calm down a little bit. And speaking of the internet, have you seen this back and forth Twitter exchange between Jade Cargill and Rhea Ripley?
I saw that there was something. I did not watch. I didn't look at that. I always assume kayfabe. I just assume everything's kayfabe because they've got everybody so worked. But go on, tell me about this. What's going on?
So apparently Jade Cargill had posted on Twitter about, how Rhea Ripley's always talking with creative because Rhea Ripley had tweeted something about you talk too much or whatever. And Jade Cargill replied with, well, like, what do you mean? Like when you're always talking with creative? And this has kind of gone on, back and forth, throwing little barbs and jabs, so much so that Rhea Ripley said, you need to keep my name out your mouth, bitch. Other women superstars have jumped in on this. And then Rhea posted to her Instagram story, I don't know, maybe like 5 or 6 hours ago, a black screen with white text that said, not friends, not having a good time, not a work. And
okay.
So, the internet is just eating this up right now, this whole thing with Rhea Ripley and Jade Cargill. Like you said, you always assume kayfabe. And I just scrolled past something here while we were getting ready to bring this up, that there is some legitimate backstage heat with Jade Cargill despite her WWE push. She does only have one. She only does only have one title defense in the entirety of her reign, and that was against Jordynne Grace, which is also the only match that she's had since she won the women's championship. What do you think about that whole debacle?
It's hard for me to blame that on Jade Cargill, if I'm being honest, because it's like, she doesn't schedule her own matches. What, does she not want to work? Does she have that level of clout in the company to be like, no, I don't want to work? I think that they're probably dealing with things. I think it seems to me that this WrestleMania season hasn't quite gone the way that they've wanted it to go. And I think that this Jade Cargill thing is just another piece of that puzzle. I'm not quite sure who to criticize in this because I think it sucks. I think her title reign sucks. And I think that the reason that they've kind of quickly thrown Rhea Ripley in there, not quickly, but why they've positioned it to be Rhea Ripley to take on Jade Cargill, is because Rhea Ripley is a bona fide star, and this Jade Cargill thing has has landed flat because, quite frankly, she's just not defending it. Like, you see her face, but that she's just not defending it. Now, I don't know why that is.
I mean, do you feel like they're trying to protect her?
Right. That's kind of like, that's what it feels like, right? I mean, I don't know if that's true or not, but that's certainly like, that's what the optics are to me. And it's not like it's going to be something where it's like, oh, well, actually, in kayfabe, this works like this. And it's like, well, no, that's not like, if the optics are that they're trying to protect her, there's no kayfabing your way out of your champion not wrestling, and barely being on TV, not getting to cut promos. And, maybe the problem is that, she can't handle it. And, maybe that's been the discussion backstage, but because she is a champion, they have to like get that belt off of her and they want to protect her. They've got a lot invested in her. So they've got to get that belt off of her in a way that doesn't make her look like she'll never be legitimate again. And, so they're going to force her to work with Rhea Ripley, who, could work a match by herself, but she's going to have to work it with Jade. And, but it's Rhea beating Jade at WrestleMania to reclaim the title. I mean, it makes sense. So it's not like you do it. And, we already know that Rhea is a competent title holder. She can be up multiple. Not only can she, defend relatively often. I mean, she wrestles every week, but she can cut a promo. She can be in multiple segments during the night and really carry a title. Whereas Jade clearly just can't do that. SmackDown is definitely in need of somebody like that also. So getting her over to do that, right? She's the SmackDown champ, right?
Yes,
because Liv's gonna wrestle. I'm like, wait, what show did I watch? So getting Rhea over there onto SmackDown, I think makes a lot of sense. I think they maybe were trying to hold out and wait until either Bianca or Naomi were able to come back. It clearly doesn't look like either of them are going to make WrestleMania. So, it seems like, well, all right, she's got to defend at WrestleMania. I guess we'll just put it back on Rhea and see what happens. And it seems like, to me, there was something they were holding for, something they thought they were going to get. But we had discussed last time we were on here about how Bianca was just getting her finger operated on that day. So it's only probably 2 weeks removed from that. So she ain't coming back anytime soon. We've not heard hide nor hair of Naomi. But it seems like she's also probably not close to coming back if they're just going to put it on, or at least not close enough to come back to make a title feud out of it. Maybe she'll be back by SummerSlam and they can do something without the title, or maybe the title gets back on one of them. But yeah, it seems like they were waiting on something. They were trying for something, and those plans just never came to fruition. And now it's like, well, I guess we'll just put the biggest star in there and try to salvage some of this. That's at least what it feels like to me.
I mean, her pop at the Elimination Chamber was by far the biggest and loudest one of the evening, and it wasn't even close.
To Rhea.
Yes. If I'm being honest with you, and we can get into this in a little bit, but I really felt like that Chicago crowd was bored as fuck.
It was a rough crowd. Chicago's usually a rough crowd. I liked the pay-per-view, but it didn't seem like it was a good show in the building. You know what I mean? I feel like it's hard. It's probably hard to see through those cages, and that was 2 of the 4 matches. I don't know. The other 2 matches were fine, but they weren't like they could have been a main event of Raw, either of them, and probably would have been just as well, if not better received, but just as well received. I mean, we're going to get a better main event is that this week? We get Punk versus Cody. Is that this week we get it on Raw? Or is, it's
going to be Drew versus Cody on Friday.
That's right. Drew versus Cody on Friday. That's right.
And the belief is, the external belief is that Cody Rhodes is going to win the championship from Drew McIntyre.
See, I don't know if I like that, but I at this point, I wouldn't take those rumors with anything more than a grain of salt, because people don't know.
Well, I mean, the people inside the room don't even know, apparently. It just.
Well, I mean, look, I think it's not a bad thing for it to be on the table. You know what I mean? To kind of like have the thought of like, well, Drew could lose this to Cody. I think that sucks because Jesus Christ, how many times did Drew and Cody wrestle until Drew actually wrestled that off of him? It felt like a couple too many times. So, I would hate to see Drew lose it just already for no real good reason. Well, let's just put it back on Cody so we can do, so we can do Cody versus, who the fuck won the chamber? Oh, Randy Orton, because that's what they want to do.
Randy Orton.
Yeah, because that's what they want to do. I think that kind of cheapens the end of the Elimination Chamber because Randy just turned on him. But, maybe there's a fun build to that, and maybe they just don't have anything for Drew because I think they wanted to do a multi-man match, and I think they scrapped that.
I mean, we still may end up there. I mean, it's quite possible that Jacob Fatu interrupts this match on Friday, and then all hell breaks loose, and then we get a fatal four-way at WrestleMania, which I think would be a giant cop-out.
Yeah, for sure. Well,
much like
Cody and Drew again.
Yeah, much like what was it, 21, the main WrestleMania in 2021, Edge, Roman Reigns, and Daniel Bryan.
Yeah.
It was a cop-out.
It was. Well, they even came out and said, they were like, well, the match would be better if Daniel Bryan was in it. And they were like, well, all right, we're putting him in it. And they like weaseled him in there, but it made him look like shit, Daniel Bryan. It made him look like a whiny little crybaby going into it, which I guess maybe was part of it because that was actually his last WWE match, I think.
It was.
Like we didn't see him again after WrestleMania. Although what a way to go out on at WrestleMania in the main event. So that's pretty cool. But also
being on the bottom of a pile.
Still in the main event of WrestleMania.
I mean, yeah, I guess. So, also in the news this past couple of weeks, a name that we haven't mentioned on this show in some time. One Janelle Grant.
Yes.
Apparently she did a public interview.
Yes. It was, the nicest way to put it is confusing.
Please elaborate.
So going into it, she sort of started her it was more of really just like she made a public address. She sort of started it by somewhere in the middle, like by saying that like she, assuming that the audience knew what exactly had happened, which I think was kind of the problem, is that like nobody could really get their story straight leading into this. So like we're not really exactly sure what happened. We're pretty sure like she got pooped on. Like that's what we're pretty sure about. But like other than that, like we're not really sure, who did what, who said what, who actually, is a bad guy, who John Laurinaitis clearly took some heat. He got fired for it, but also is like, I'm a victim too. And Vince has fought this tooth and nail, and not much has come out from that. So her statement didn't really do too much for me to shed any light on anything. She did make a mention of, she had spent six figures on lawyers and therapy that has saved her life or something. Maybe she didn't even say therapy. Maybe it was like medical treatment that did save her life. And it's like, oh, wait, what? Like that's like a big like ball drop. It was like, wait, saved your life? How? Was it mental? Like you got therapy, mental therapy, and that saved your life because otherwise you were depressed, or were you like bleeding out and they stopped that? Like what are we talking about here? Because you're saying a lot of things that could have a lot of meaning, but you could also be saying them just like as hyperbole. So I'm not really sure what the point of this interview was, because it didn't make anything clearer. It didn't make anything any more like, oh, okay. It didn't open any doors or any bust open anything in the case. It just seemed like to be, and weirdly, one of my buddies did message me and was like, is she making this interview because Vince McMahon's in the news about wanting to buy WWE again? Did Hunter put her up to this? As I think what he said to me. Did Hunter put her up to this to keep Vince from buying back WWE? Or did TKO put her like? So it's had she come out and said something and had shown us something and been very like, this is what happened, this is how I feel, this is what, like, I assume she can't do that for legal liability, for like legal reasons. But also, if you can't, why do this? Because this didn't clear. I didn't see anybody having an epiphany over this and going, "Oh, what an evil thing, you poor woman." It didn't. Most people just watched it and kind of dismissed it, and so I don't know what the point of it was.
Right. I think what is interesting though, coming out of this, I'd seen a couple of tweets, and it's on the internet, so it must be true. But I had seen a couple of tweets that, had listed some of the things that Janelle Grant had received from Vince McMahon during their non-consensual relationship. Because obviously she spoke out on NDAs and how dangerous they are, and that was what this was, the narrative was supposed to be, right?
That's kind of how it started, but it didn't. It went away.
So, but it had come to light that she had received some rather extravagant gifts from one Vincent Kennedy McMahon, on top of being paid all this hush money, and then all of a sudden, the money stopped, and now here we are. So,
remember, this got exposed due to like some accounting. Like they realized that Vince was paying her with WWE money because she was on the payroll, and was like, why is this? I can't remember what her position was. Like, why is this person making $250,000 a year?
She was like a paralegal or something.
Yeah. It's like, why is she making 10 times what all the other paralegals make? So there was that's kind of where this blew open. It's all that's wild too. And it's like, I don't want to like belittle her or her life.
No, you don't want to shit on her head.
No, I don't. But also,
I mean, I'm talking figuratively, of course, like
not literally, right? But
that's good shit, pal.
It very much seems that a lot of money changed hands, and I don't know what happened. Like, maybe it was something horrific that happened. Maybe he did try to kill her. Who knows? He's a crazy old fucker. But nobody said that.
Right.
So I'm like, the optics are that I can see is that she and he had a relationship that was very sexual and very perverted, as Vince McMahon would want it to be. But there was also a lot of money exchange that went her way, and a lot of gifts. There were cars. Now, maybe she felt threatened. Maybe she felt like she couldn't walk away. I don't know. But it seemed like there was a lot going her way too. So I don't know. The optics are not good on this, and every time somebody comes out to say something about it or give some bombshell report, it's not more information. So it's like either we need to stop talking about this or we need more information, because right now we sit at a he said, she said kind of standstill, and it hasn't gone anywhere in the courts either. So it's not there's nothing for me to like say, oh, this is how this went. Oh, wow. Or, oh boy, this is where we are. Like, we're not anywhere is the problem. And we keep talking about it. So it's like, why are we still talking about it if we're not going anywhere with it?
Right. And I mean, to steal a quote from, Roman Reigns or Paul Heyman, it's like this is an attempt to stay on the island of relevancy in the eyes of most.
Yeah. And not just Janelle Grant, but Janelle Grant and Vince McMahon. Like, he's out of the company. And yeah, he treated people poorly, but now he's gone. He's an old man. And
Yeah,
I don't want to buy
he's too busy wrecking his car into other women at 115 miles an hour.
They said nobody ever wanted to ride with Vince when they would travel. Vince would ride
I
by
have heard
himself.
that on more than one occasion.
Nobody ever wanted to ride with Vince because he was such a reckless driver. Which is shocking that obviously he's wrecked his car a little bit recently. But like shocking that like he didn't get killed. Like think about how many places he drove.
Yeah.
Recklessly and fast.
In all sorts of weather conditions, you know?
Oh yeah, for sure. Because it didn't matter. Vince was gonna be there. Snowmageddon! Snowmageddon my ass! Get that big Steve Austin monster truck.
Oh, shit. So, I don't know. I think that that's something that's definitely going to continue to rear its ugly head every once in a while. It's something that's going to continue to pop up and pop in and be one of those things that's like, hi, this is still going on over here. Hi, guys.
Poked you again. Yeah, and that's certainly what it felt like this time. When I saw, like, the headline was more scandalous than what was actually the substance of it. It was like, Chanel Grant speaks out. And then you listen to it and it's like, okay, well, she didn't, like this doesn't change anything, you know? And that's kind of the problem. And then, like you said, if anything, it kind of brought out this list of like, well, here's all the stuff she got. And you're like, good Lord, I'd like some of that. Somebody could poop on me for that.
Yeah, for sure.
I saw that joke on the internet too many times.
I don't know about all that.
Yeah, I don't know about that.
Probably runny and fucking.
It's all protein shaky.
As much Mexican vitamins as he was fucking on. At one point in time in his career, I'm sure that there's not much. There's not much control down there in the old sphincter.
Cocaine and Cialis all mashed up. Probably boofed.
Yeah. So, speaking of things being all mashed up, let's talk about the Vision, bro. Man, what a fucking train wreck nightmare this has been for Paul Heyman's group going into WrestleMania.
It's because they're cursed. Because Seth Rollins did that thing where he pretended to be hurt, but then he wasn't hurt. They're cursed. It's a curse. Cursed.
Yeah, well, it appears that he did it to him. He did it again.
Oh.
I mean, Seth Rollins.
What'd he do?
We came back at Elimination Chamber.
Yeah. Yeah, he's back.
Yeah, he's not supposed to be.
Oh. So he's going to break himself again? I don't what we're talking about.
I mean, I'm just saying, like.
Oh, the kayfabe thing.
Yeah, originally he was supposed to be out until after WrestleMania with this shoulder injury, and like now all of a sudden he comes in and he curb stomps fucking Logan Paul, the only relevant guy left in the Vision.
Mm-hmm.
Is this what we're doing for WrestleMania? Fucking Logan Paul and Seth Rollins?
I think it's what we have to do. I think that the last time we saw Rollins talk about it on ESPN, if you'll remember, somebody on ESPN had said, and now you're fighting your way back so that you can be in the Royal Rumble. And Seth threw up his hands and goes, I'm not going to be in the Royal Rumble. Sorry to burst everybody's bubble. I just had shoulder surgery. It was 3 weeks ago or 4 weeks ago at that point. And I'm just working on getting back so that I can be at WrestleMania. And that's what he said the day before the Elimination Chamber. So his being back, I don't think is, I mean, it's miraculous that he's back, but I also don't think we're going to see him wrestle a match until WrestleMania either. And by then it'll have been, 8 weeks?
Yeah, something like that.
Yeah, that's probably about right. Yeah. So, but it's wild that he goes in and stomps Logan Paul because, like, Yeah, and I think Logan Paul is like the third guy in line because it was going to clearly be the plan was obviously it was going to be Bronson Reed, right? And then
Well, it
Bronson
was.
Reed,
I think originally it was probably going to be Braun Breaker.
Braun Breaker, right? That's what I meant. They're obviously going to be Braun Breaker, but then that went tits up, and then okay, well now it's Bronson Reed, and then he blew out his bicep last week. He's in like one of those slings that like keeps it like muscled. So he blew out his bicep last week, and it's like, well, all right, Logan, I guess you're the next most popular guy, so you're up. I did like what they did tonight with it, though. There was like a bunch of masked men running, and then they chased him and they smashed. Rollins came out at the end and smashed Paul Heyman. It was great. So I think that there's a lot of trouble with Division, and I think that they're cursed because two major injuries like that leading into WrestleMania absolutely sucks. Yeah, like that's I don't know how like you book around that, and clearly they're having some trouble, keeping guys healthy. This, like I said earlier, I think this road to WrestleMania has not gone the way that they had hoped it would go, and I think this is probably the biggest part of that hasn't gone the way they would have hoped it would have gone.
Yeah, I mean it's not been great at all for Paul Heyman's bunch. I mean, and if you think about it, it really started with Rollins, getting hurt initially, and then them having to excommunicate him from the group
prematurely,
probably a lot sooner than they anticipated. So, I mean, speedy recovery to the Bronze for sure. Their presence will be missed.
Absolutely. It already is.
I think Monday Night Raw is a weaker show without them.
It for sure is.
So, I don't know. We'll just have to keep our eye on that developing storyline. But I mean, to me, it feels like all roads to WrestleMania lead through Seth Rollins Court and Logan Paul Drive.
I'd agree with that.
So
that seems to be the plan now. They smashed poor Jey Uso in the process, but
yeah. I mean that had to be a thing too. The internet was not happy that he won that match, and then obviously we get Logan Paul versus Jacob Fatu, and naturally I would have rather seen fucking Jacob Fatu in the Elimination Chamber and possibly win, but we didn't get that. Even though Logan Paul did have a great run in the Elimination Chamber. Overall, what did you think about the Elimination Chamber event?
So the kickoff, the women's match was good, and everybody looked strong, but it felt short. It felt compressed. That's probably the best way to put it. Felt real compressed, and allegedly it was the shortest women's elimination chamber of all time, as far as minutes and seconds go. But I thought that was good. It was good. It was just a little compressed, but I don't think that was necessarily a bad thing. I don't always think that every match needs to go on forever. I think they tried to go out there first, kind of tear the house down a little bit. Rhea Ripley, obviously victorious. I thought they did a great job. I thought everybody looked good. I thought Kiana James looked she looked a little shaky at first, but I thought she looked better. She was the first eliminated though, but she looked better after they got a couple more people in the ring. And yeah, I kind of going into it assumed that it was going to be Rhea. Like that was the only thing that really made sense. But I was like, but it could have been a couple of the other ones, but I thought Rhea seemed obvious. But that goes down, and then immediately leads into the women's Intercontinental title match. Probably the weakest match on the card.
100%.
Kudos to Becky. I know AJ has been out for a long time, and so really was Becky just trying to lead her through everything. And I think Becky did a good job It was more storytelling and segmenty as far as the match was concerned than it was like full of technical wrestling ability. Although that widow's whatever lock that she gets in does look pretty cool.
Yeah.
But it was. This would have been maybe we could have done a better job of picking a better match for this spot. And maybe this could have been a main event of Raw or something. Maybe this could have been a TV match, because it would have been a great TV match. But it was for an only 4-match card. It was kind of a weak title match. AJ Lee winning the title. Interested to see what she does with it.
I mean, I think that Becky was doing a great job elevating that IC title.
I agree.
She cut a promo on Raw, the Go Home Raw. It was a backstage pre-tape, and she was like, "Hey man, like I've made this title mean something. I've made this title relevant." And she could not have been any more truthful in her assessment of her Intercontinental Championship reign, even though she's now lost it twice. But yeah.
The losing, so that's the thing is that I was about to say is that it sort of like seems like the Intercontinental title slingshots back to Becky, like it boomerangs back after she loses it, and I'm a little tired of that gimmick now. So if AJ Lee's going to move on and maybe fight Bayley or fight Lyra Valkyria or whomever else, get some other people fighting for that Intercontinental title. Chelsea Green would be great.
Well, she's got a broken foot, so
that's right, she does. Now we're gonna have a shake-up here pretty soon. Maybe she holds it. Well, she's gonna have to defend it at WrestleMania. But we'll see where that goes. And I don't think it's the wrong thing. I feel like it's like, okay, and Becky to you. All right, back to Becky, and now to AJ Lee again. Back to Becky. AJ's she hasn't really been a full-timer since she's been back. She's been a very, very part-timer. So I don't know. I mean, I don't know how many shows she's booked for between now and WrestleMania. I assume several. But please don't just put it back on Becky again. If she loses it at WrestleMania, put it on somebody else.
Yeah, I mean, I'd be all right with a Bayley run.
It's always what I'm shooting for.
I'd be awesome with a Bayley run. What'd you think about Punk and Finn Balor?
So we got to talk about what happened between, but we'll talk about that later, I suppose. I thought it was the best match on the card, if I'm being honest. I thought they really, really went to town. Both guys looked really good. It's like, it's so predictable though. So I understand why they don't have people, especially this time of year, defend the title, because going into this, I know they tried to play it up like, oh, Balor could do it, guys. Like, no, they're not going to do that.
He's just not.
It's
this
just
is going to be one of the biggest main events in the history of modern day WrestleMania.
Yeah, it's not. There's no chance. He's got no chance. So that's why, like, just even having the match in and of itself is like, yeah, it was a great match to watch with your eyeballs. But you knew the second anything happened, the second that bell rung, you knew exactly who was winning that match, and you knew he was going to win clean, and it was going to just end, and they were going to shake hands again, and that was going to be that. So they tried, and I know they're trying, and it's like, well, at least Finn Balor's in the main event picture, right? And that's kind of, sort of the same thing as a short title reign, I suppose. But it's just, they weren't going to do it. So it almost like sort of bastardizes the whole thing. And I know the internet wasn't as salty about it today because of other things. But like, they got to be like, oh God, Finn Balor again.
Oh no, you're the only one that calls him that.
It's not true. The only one. But it is what it is. It was a great match, but it was also like, you knew exactly who was going to win before the pay-per-view even started. As soon as that match started.
Let me ask you a question. What did you think about CM Punk's entrance?
Oh, with the a little long, but they were in Chicago, so
with the Chicago Bulls, the Jordan era Bulls.
yeah.
It started playing, and then I was just like, man, that's pretty cool. And then I was expected it to just like, and it just didn't happen. And then like he comes out of the locker room, a la Bill Goldberg, and it's like, buddy, but what are we doing here?
Yeah.
Like his entrance was longer than the entirety of the women's elimination chamber match.
It was too long. Yeah, I like the Bulls thing, but yeah, man, like that also like plus what happened right before, and it's like
what happened after.
Well, right after, right, you're right. So it's like you kind of like, all right, we're gonna.
What happened before was his wife won the title, but the thing after.
Right, that thing, and I just why would we why like why take so long? Like, oh, the elimination chamber went under. You got time, Phil. That's probably what it was.
Yeah, guaranteed. But I did. I thought it was a pretty good match. Let me ask you something, because we all know, okay, everybody knows that listens or consumes this show, what a fucking mark you are, right?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
You make sure to tell everybody a couple times a week, yeah.
Well, just got to make sure that everybody understands what a mark you are, especially you over here. Start calling you Uncle Dave here before long. Because I did it, and I can feel it. You hit the Finn Balor, right? Like, oh,
absolutely.
Oh. Feels good to have that back, doesn't it?
It does.
Feels real good to have that back.
I did hit it. You're right. You're absolutely right. I did right here, actually, like in this general area. Then I went into there, and I did it to Ashley.
All but confirmed. We're gonna see Finn Balor walk away from the Judgment Day here sooner rather than later. What's to say he doesn't win the Intercontinental Championship from Dominic Mysterio at WrestleMania?
I mean, sure, that'd be great, but it really would, actually. I think that would be cool, and I think that would be a good spot for Finn.
You think you'd finally leave him alone about getting beat every week?
Oh, we'll see. We'll see if he stops getting beat every week.
So, and then obviously there was a thing that happened that we're gonna talk about in the main event of this particular show. But then we had the men's elimination chamber match. What you think about this?
So I might be in the minority, but I really liked it.
I thought it was good too.
I even liked the shenanigans. But Logan Paul looking super dominant, getting 3 eliminations before Rollins shows up and a bunch of other guys. I guess he has his other guys show up and chase off some people, and then Rollins showing up and stomping the shit out of Logan Paul, which was great, and doing the reveal. I think that worked out a lot better than anybody gave it credit for initially. Like this most recent time, not when it was Austin Theory, like this most recent time, because it sure seemed directionless. But I guess Seth was well again, and the use of those other guys under the mask. Who the hell are you? Those were students at Seth's wrestling school. So he brought his top students in to run interference so he could stomp the shit out of Logan Paul. But I thought that was a clever swerve to that, because otherwise it was kind of falling off the rails, or people were assuming it was going to fall off the rails, but really didn't, and really kind of like worked out pretty good, I think. So, happy to see that it didn't actually end up sucking.
Yeah, I mean, I thought that the match was very, very well put together. Logan Paul looking strong, like you said, I think is a big deal for the Vision, especially in its current iteration. Um, it's sorry.
Said you freeze? I mean, to your point, I think it's that, like, they did what they had. They did what they could with, like, injuries left and right, just like having to pivot. And I think that, this probably isn't where the masked man gimmick was going to go. And then there's probably a week or so in there where it sort of lost trajectory, and it was like, what the hell's going on? And that's what everybody sensed was like, oh, this is going to be a mess. But somebody reeled it in and figured it out, and it makes basically perfect sense. And then the wider out you think about it, like, well, this is probably the best scenario they could have had for despite these injuries. This is probably the best thing they could have done with what they had left. And like I said, there's probably clearly a week in there where they were like, shit, what are we gonna do? But they definitely reeled it in. So,
and then the biggest question that I saw about the men's elimination chamber match on the internet this week, was Randy Orton the right decision to win the match?
So I think so. I think Randy Orton's still a draw, and depending on where they go with this, it might end up still being a multi-title kind of thing. I think that Randy versus Drew, makes sense to me a little bit. They've had a little bit of interaction, but now that Randy's got it, and Drew kind of was like instrumental in that. Plus, also, let's not forget that Randy is the one that RKO'd Cody and pinned him right at the end. There, it wasn't that Drew had beat Cody up beforehand or anything. Cody just turned around and got aided out of nowhere. So that happened, and I think Randy's the right guy because it means that they can kind of go a lot of different ways. Like, if you just want to go with Randy versus Drew, I think that'll be a great match. It doesn't have to be the main event of anything. It can kick off WrestleMania, but it'll still be pretty good. And it's not a matchup we've seen a dozen times before. And now you can kind of get all kinds of people involved between now and WrestleMania. So even if you want to make it kind of a match that, while on paper doesn't seem all that interesting, it's like, well, Cody Rhodes is going to end up doing something about it, and so will Jacob Fatu. And, with our powers combined, however the match ends up, it ends up having, the sum of the parts kind of build up to make it a bigger deal than it would have been otherwise.
So, let's talk about LA Knight.
He fell down.
He did fall down. Fall down, go boom. I think that he did the absolute best that he could have done in that situation.
Yeah, it's unfortunate. I mean, he's not the first person to slip on ropes in a main event either, because like those ropes are slick. I don't know if I'd be attempting that, but then again, so you're a professional and it's live. You get one shot.
Right. But what I find interesting is the week before, he had admitted that he had some frustrations. When he was asked if he was having fun in WWE, he said it's a good time. There's definitely frustrations here and there. You can't be in something you love and not from time to time. Passion is sometimes full of anger. There's no way to not have a little bit of that in there. But as far as what we're doing and as far as what I'm doing, it's been a hell of a run. It's been a hell of a ride. So yeah, I'm having fun where I can pick my spots. It's just trying to unplug when I actually have the chance to go home and be at home and enjoy that time. And then, obviously a lot to do was made about LA Knight in the negative portrayal, we will call it, in the Unreal series on Netflix. And then obviously the botch at Elimination Chamber in what was otherwise a pretty big spot for him in that match. And I don't know, man. So I guess my question is LA Knight a guy?
I mean, he's a guy. He's not the guy. He's not going to be the guy. And, I know that. Do I think he'll probably win it at some point? Yeah. Yeah, I do. He may end up. Drew may retain through WrestleMania, and LA Knight may be the one to take it from him at SummerSlam or something. I think that's certainly a possibility. But is he going to be a guy who is the guy at WrestleMania? No, certainly not. If he gets a short title run sometime this year, that'll probably be his only one. And it'll be, at this point, more of a consolation than anything else because he's just hovered around the main event scene for so long and stayed healthy and been, other than the botch, which, like you said, unfortunate, but he recovered as best as he could. Unfortunate, but I don't think it's like career ending or career like threatening or anything like that. He's not like, he's not like, oh no, I've now, I ruined the house, right? That's not where he is. But do I think he's actually frustrated? I don't know. Maybe. I mean, maybe he wants to be the guy. And they're just like, no, they don't see him that way. I don't know that I see him that way. But
I mean, he still gets big reactions from the fans. He's still a fan favorite. You know what I mean?
A lot of time on TV.
Yeah, spends a lot of time on TV. Hey, why don't you just keep gushing over this LA Knight thing real quick? I got a thing.
I mean, anyway, as far as he gets so much time on TV. So it's like, at this point, what's the, what are we looking at here? Like, what's the measure of a guy? Like, you have to hold a title. You have to be the guy who holds the title. You can't just be the guy who's in main events pretty much consistently, who's in PLE main events, PLE big matches here. Always kind of fighting around the top, getting your way back into contention, getting title shots. And he's been that guy now for a couple of years. Like he's been a guy who's consistently like the number 3, on top. Unfortunately, now being the number 3 means you may never hold the title because we don't do these hot potato title changes all the time anymore. The fact that Drew has it now is sort of like, I think Drew's maybe a little bit of a bigger star than LA Knight is. Probably about similar level, but maybe a little bit bigger, just because he's been in WWE longer and had more time in WWE. But now that he's LA Knight's kind of been around this area, it's like at the title win at this point just feels like he's just getting a consolation prize. Like, well, here you go, you did a good job, and here, you hold this for the next month, and we're gonna take it off of you. But at least you'll be able to call yourself a champion. You'll have been a world heavyweight champion or a WWE champion or whatever title he ends up with. And maybe next time he just, I don't know. It seems like he's fine. I don't think that he should be upset about where he is. I don't think that the fans should be upset about where he is. The fans, that's the biggest one. Is they're like, oh God, is LA Knight buried right now? It's like, I don't know, man. He was in 3 main event TV matches this month, and he just main evented the pay-per-view. So I would say that's the opposite of buried. Guys on TV every week, gets to cut a promo, gets a microphone in his face, gets to wrestle a match, usually wins. Like, is that buried? Are you buried if you win and get a lot of TV time? Because guys just on TV winning. And yeah, sure, he loses the big one. But he gets to cut a promo on his way to the ring, and then he gets to have a match where he wins. I mean, it's almost John Cena treatment. And yeah, I know they haven't put a title on him yet, but good Lord, like, here's a microphone, here's a match where you win. That's not being buried. Like, that's, Here's your main event of Elimination Chamber. You're in the chamber, which is a cool match, which means they trust you to be in a complicated match that is really cool. It's so cool they only do it once a year. So I don't know. I feel like that's a little. I feel like that's a little kayfabe, but it's also maybe a little true. And I feel like he probably wants to be a champion. I think all those guys do. I think that's part of the reason you get into the business is just you want to be. I was a WWE champion. I was the world heavyweight champion. And so, you want to be able to say stuff like that. That's why you get there. But I think at the end, it's like, if LA Knight holds the title or if he doesn't, I don't know that it matters.
Yeah, I mean, I agree. He definitely gets a ton of TV time. And, he usually is in a winning spot. I mean, we talked about it after Kevin Owens got hurt, that he kind of filled that KO spot of being on both shows and, being a mainstay and being involved in a lot of those things. Friend of the show, Pat Martin, with a yeah.
I mean, like I said, it's like he gets every week. It's like, well, you're in a match. Here's a microphone, cut a promo, win the match. That's the opposite of being buried. Yeah, they haven't put a title on him, but at this point, what's the difference?
He was a U.S. champion twice. He's a two-time U.S. champion.
Like a world title. Right. He's held the mid-card titles plenty, but they haven't put a world title on him yet. But at this point, like, does he need it? Who cares?
All I'm saying is Jake the Snake Roberts is one of the greatest performers of the late 80s and early 90s, and he never held a championship in WWE.
Yeah.
So, I mean, do with that information what you will.
Same with Roddy Piper.
Yeah, Roddy Piper was an Intercontinental Champion and a Tag Team Champion. He was an Intercontinental Champion for like 2 weeks.
Yeah.
Won it at a pay-per-view and then lost it at a taping.
Yeah.
And then he was a Tag Team Champion in his later years.
He was like 60 years old.
So, I mean, I don't know. You take the good with the bad. I think that, somebody like LA Knight that's been around the business for a long time and has dreamed of being in WWE for a very, very long time, I think he would like to be able to put one of those on his mantle. I think that's probably a personal goal at this point, more so than a professional one. So we'll see how it shakes out. I tend to agree with you that that he's going to have some sort of short reign.
Yeah, I don't think it'll be super long, but it'll happen. Consolation prize, if you will.
So, a couple more things here, and then we're rounding third base here. So, obviously the fallout from the AJ Styles thing. This happened last week. He comes out, he cuts his little promo, gives his thank you speech, talks about how great everybody was. They threw the party for him. The Good Brothers were there. Abyss and Frankie Kazarian were there, and there was a bunch of TNA folk there. Glaring in their absence was one Samoa Joe. Obviously under AEW contract. But that would have been a nice,
I hoped that Joe was back there, and I figured he wasn't, but I had hoped that he would be.
And then we get the post show credits start to roll, and then all of a sudden, lights go out. Then the Undertaker can't get the motorcycle started, and then I am American Badass. And here he comes. Whoa, 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 whoa. Gets in the ring and kind of sounds like he's getting ready to challenge AJ Styles to a match at WrestleMania, doesn't it?
That kind of did. That's what I thought was going to happen.
And then all of a sudden he's like, hey, man, welcome to the 2026 Class Hall of Fame.
I think that's nice. I like that. I like AJ. I love AJ. I think AJ is one of the best to ever do it.
I mean, Kurt Angle said in that video package, which was phenomenal, by the way.
Yeah, it was.
Pun heavily intended, that AJ Styles is simply the greatest in-ring worker he's ever had the pleasure of sharing the ring with.
And that's coming from the other greatest in-ring worker that is like,
very high praise from a very, very high-level Hall of Famer in one Kurt Angle with his
Pittsburgh
three
Rick.
eyes. So, the internet was ablaze that this guy was going to go to AEW, and then all of a sudden we dropped this Hall of Fame thing on AJ, and it's like, well, back up the bus. Yeah, we're not going anywhere, buddy. We're going to sign you to a fucking Legends deal now.
Mm-hmm.
So kind of put the kibosh on all that.
Yeah, sure did. I mean, AJ said he wasn't gonna, like that. Nobody should be surprised that AJ was like, no, I'm done. No, I won't be doing that. Anytime somebody said anything like that, and then that's exactly what happened. The internet was like, never say never. And it's like, no, never. I'm done. So.
You know, and I mean, I think that this was one of those moves that the internet actually found something nice to say about Paul Levesque.
Mm-hmm.
And I couldn't agree more about the choice to put AJ immediately into the Hall of Fame, although we still don't have Bray Wyatt in the Hall of Fame, which I still don't understand. But, you know, obviously this class is shaping up. We've got Stephanie McMahon, AJ Styles, and now Demolition, Axe, and Smash will finally take their rightful place in the WWE Hall of Fame.
I always loved them.
But, you know, with all of this, right, and all the positivity that surrounds the Hall of Fame, the internet is abuzz, as they seem to be these days. You think The Undertaker's handpicking all these people that are going into the Hall of Fame?
I mean, there could be worse people handpicking people to go in the Hall of Fame.
I mean, I agree. But, I mean, I feel like in his later years, The Undertaker's gotten rather petty.
Petty is petty and a little controlling. He feels like he's got a big. And he probably has always felt like he could do whatever he wanted to do, but it now feels like he feels that way, not just physically, but like in a sort of corporate decision maker sense, because that's what he's doing. Is being a big time corporate decision maker. You know, I think we just talked about it a few weeks ago about his podcast and how that has become sort of the Mark and Michelle show. And then, you know, now it's like Maven and who else said it?
Probably Coach Russo.
Yeah, Coach. Yeah, it was like, oh, Undertaker's handpicking him. Now, do these guys know shit about fuck? No. I think that they've proven that a few times. I think Maven's been right like half the time, but like Coach seems to never be right. So if the coach said there's a good chance that it's totally wrong, because I think whomever's feeding the coach information is just feeding the coach bad information.
Yeah, man. I mean, I don't know that anybody that posts up next to Vince Russo each and every week to do a show doesn't really have much credibility as far as I'm concerned.
No.
So, I forgot to ask, overall grade for Elimination Chamber.
I said the chamber matches weren't as intense as like years in the past, but I thought they were well put together. I'm gonna give it a B, solid B.
I'm here for that.
This match is
heavy speculation that this might be the last Elimination Chamber match that we see for a while.
I mean, I wouldn't hate that. I feel like there's other things that I'd rather like. I feel like I'd rather them retire the Money in the Bank for a little while before they do the Elimination Chamber. But I understand why you wouldn't want to be like, all right, well, because then you hype up the Royal Rumble, and then it's like, well, but wait, because the next one's got the other WrestleMania main event spot, and you're like, oh, okay. So it's like, I guess it's the consolation win here. I'm using that word a lot today.
Yeah.
So I would like to see the chamber stay, and maybe they can put the, like I said, the Money in the Bank on hold, and maybe
Well, the chamber is one of your favorite all-time gimmick
it
matches.
really is. It's such a good gimmick because even like when it's not like operating at a 10 out of 10, it's still cool. Like when they smash people through the cages and stuff, that's just like it doesn't get better than that for me.
No, I mean I think that it's a particularly brutal match, but this one not so much, and I think that's probably why the internet has jumped on board that it's time to put this to rest a little bit because these matches are supposed to be these big giant violent affairs, and these were anything but.
No, they were pretty much just straight up regular wrestling matches.
So it'll be interesting to see how all that plays out moving forward. So obviously the two main events for WrestleMania, well, the four main events for WrestleMania are set. Still a lot that needs to take place in the next 8 weeks, 9 weeks, whatever it is, 49 days, 48 days, some shit like that.
Something like that, yeah.
So maybe, what is it, 7 weeks? Still a lot that has to take shape in the next 7 weeks. And I really feel like all of this good aura and positive vibes that you and I put forth at the beginning of the year before the Royal Rumble has kind of slowed down a little bit.
Well, they're having a hard time with the ticket sales too.
Well, I mean, you can't expect fucking people to pay $4,000 for an obstructed view from the tippy top of the fucking Allegiant Stadium. Like, it's just not.
Yeah, and you're right, but it's that's they're, you could tell that like they're gonna it's not gonna make the money that it made last year.
They were all. I had read somewhere that they were already like 12,000 tickets behind last year's pace.
Yeah, it's like a lot.
I mean, that's a big number.
Yeah, it's a lot. Well, it's because Vegas just had it last year. Like, dude, it was a once in a lifetime thing. Do we want to? Can't do it twice in 2 years, and I think they're going to get a lot of that. And they're not going to see as much international travel now, particularly with from Canada or anywhere else. So it's very much like, all right, Americans who can't afford to do shit and the residents of Las Vegas, like, here's your $5,000 tickets, and they're like, no, we're just here last year, no. And I think that's the problem they're running into is everybody's once in a lifetime thing. When's the next time it's going to come back to Vegas? Hey, you guys want to come back again? Like, not at that ticket price, because at that point it's like we just did this. Like, it's not all that hard to get WrestleMania.
And a lot of folks go to WrestleMania just to go to WrestleMania for the week, for the experience, not so much the card. And like a lot of folks, like that's their, especially international fans, like that's their vacation in a lot of time.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know, man. I just think that's piss poor planning on WWE's part. And, we've been talking about this for the better part of the last 9 months. They are currently in the they fucked around and found out stage of reaping what they have sown, so to speak.
Yeah, I hope they liked that big boost last year, because they're going to be taking it on the chin for a few years coming now.
So, I don't know. We'll see how WrestleMania continues to shake out. I will say that the 4 world title matches, it was bumpy as shit to get here, and I for some reason feel like we're gonna come up on some more road closures around these 4 matches.
And there's still one match. There's still one match that's gonna for sure have more bumps before it even gets there. So we'll see.
Yeah. So it should definitely be interesting. So you and I had a sidebar conversation, and it was very, very enlightening, I think, between the two of us, and it was a text conversation leading up to the Elimination Chamber. about what was in the box. Heavy
did.
speculation on the internet that it was Chris Jericho.
Mm-hmm.
Some folks had gone as far as to say that it was Vince McMahon.
Then there was the obvious where it was like, it's either going to be Dude Wipes or Papa John's Pizza, or it's going to be, something
Well,
to
it ended
do.
up being both of those things.
Yeah. Well, the segments did. Or it's just going to be something for WWE 2K26 or something dumb like that. It's like, it's not going to actually be a wrestler or a surprise. It's going to be an advertisement, right? That was the general consensus. But go on with your story. I didn't mean to interrupt you.
So, we start riffing back and forth, and I was real hyped because for whatever reason, the thought had not crossed my mind of what could have been in the box until you said it, and I was just like, oh man, that makes a ton of sense. And then I believe that you said, well, it makes so much sense, especially because who you were speculating that it may have been. Why not use an old-timey wrestling gimmick to introduce said wrestler? And I typed up and I sent to you, I'm going to be really disappointed if it's not that.
Yeah, I know. And I told you I ruined everything.
And then I knew that it was that because I had just sat down and started my rewatch, my run back of the Elimination Chamber. And you texted me and you said, are you watching the Chamber? And I said, I just started. And you said, heard, no spoilers. And I knew immediately that what had been prophesized had come to fruition. And I was playing Phase 10 at the table with my wife whenever they wheeled the box out onto the curtain, out onto the ramp. And I said, oh, is it going to be? Is it going to be? And then that bitch opened, and then all them women started pouring out, and I saw their faces.
His wife was one of those ones.
Yeah, that was pretty cool. And I saw their faces, and I said, it fucking is. It's fucking Danhausen.
That's what I said. I jumped up, holy shit, it is Danhausen. And then I immediately texted you.
So, clearly, if you folks have not picked up, there is a certain level of excitement amongst the One Fall WrestleCast for Danhausen to be, how did he put it, WWE Hausen. And the internet needs to calm down.
Story of the year.
Calm down. Tom, what do you think about Danhausen in WWE?
First of all, I called it. Yes. You were the one I called it to. I was like, what if it's Danhausen? And sure enough, what do I think about Danhausen in WWE? I think he's going to fit great. I think that right now is the most potential for him. Now, is Danhausen going to be a heavyweight champion? Absolutely not. No, he's going to get his ass. He's going to get his ass kicked by a heavyweight champion. That's going to happen. I don't think he needs to be a heavyweight champion, but is he going to be in a ton of segments across all brands, and are all of those going to be hilarious? Yes. I mean, just think about the money that Danhausen could draw with Mr. Iguana and AAA. Like, that fits his goofy shtick. Because remember, he's like 9 feet tall and 400 pounds, but obviously he's not. He believes his own gimmick, which is just, it's the best character. And so he could be down in AAA and really explore that stuff, because you're allowed to do that there, and it can get as weird as you want it to be. Imagine segments with him and Joe Hendry in NXT, or Ethan Page. How great would those be?
Yeah, and that would be a lot of fun. And
then on the main roster, it's like, obviously you put him with R-Truth, and then they can have a tag team, the Evil Truth. Very nice, very Evil Truth. I mean, that to me put the tag team champions on him. Put the tag team championships on him, especially if you don't unify the titles. And then so many things. Like him and Chelsea Green would be great. So many like really good pairings to like really work with the Danhausen character. Obviously the one most obvious one that comes to mind is the Miz. Just off the bat, like that's probably. I mean, I didn't see the Danhausen segment tonight, but I can only imagine that it was with the Miz. That's all. That's the only thing that makes sense.
I mean, I'll be watching Raw here as soon as we wrap up. So there is wild speculation from not so big friend of the show, Uncle Dave, that the rumor circulating is that Danhausen was brought in at the Roman Reigns, CM Punk, Seth Rollins pay rate.
I think Uncle Dave's on crack. Why would anybody offer Danhausen that?
I mean, they clearly brought him out of a box, so he's automatically a big deal.
Right.
I mean,
nothing that's ever come out of
pro wrestling's ever taught you anything, if it's in a box, it's a big deal.
According to the internet.
So that had the internet in an uproar. Why would you pay Danhausen $11 million a year? Blah 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 blah. I think the wildest thing that I saw was the comparison of Danhausen to the gobbledygooker.
He'd probably like that comparison, honestly.
I'm sure that he would. And he'll probably pick it up and run with it because that's what Danhausen tends to do. Do you think that he's just there just for shtick?
Yeah. I mean, 99%. I think he'll do most of his wrestling in AAA, if I'm being honest, because he's a good wrestler. He's just not, but I think he'll do most of his actual wrestling in AAA. On the main roster, he's just going to get his ass kicked a bunch. He's certainly going to stand up to Brock Lesnar at some point, and Brock Lesnar.
What if he answers Brock Lesnar's open challenge at WrestleMania?
Oh God, now that's what I want. Like that can be like the beginning of it. Danhausen just comes out, just gets F5'd, and he marches back the fuck out of there. That would be great.
Heavy speculation around that Chris Jericho is going to be the one to answer that open challenge.
I mean, they've speculated that everything's been Chris Jericho. First, Chris Jericho was going to be, what was the secret surprise? Or he was going to be the masked man. That's right. First, Jericho, he was the masked man. And then it was when he wasn't the masked man, I was like, well, he's definitely going to be in the Royal Rumble. And then he wasn't in the Royal Rumble. And now he's definitely in the box. They definitely put Chris Jericho in that box. And he's been in that box for a whole month. And he's been shipped back and forth. And it's definitely Chris Jericho. There's no way that's not some silly gimmick. And then it's not Chris Jericho in the box. So, how many more times are we going to guess it's Jericho before we just stop just making ourselves disappointed that it's not Jericho? I'm not actually disappointed that it's not Jericho.
Yeah, because I mean, we talked about that. I don't know where Jericho fits in modern day WWE. But I mean, if we were to believe the internet, we're fixing to find out. So I do have a question for you though. The Chicago crowd booed Danhausen heavily after his little entrance.
Got an initial pop.
He did, and then heavily booed.
Heavily booed.
What do you think about that?
So I think even the first when we first talked about it, I think that I said I don't know that it makes sense to do it at the Elimination Chamber. Those fans are going to be confused because let's face it, like if you only watch WWE or if you're just a casual fan of wrestling and you don't, not only do you not know who Danhausen is, even if you've heard of him, you don't care. He's just some indie dude who, he's on AEW and now he's not, and he was like just under contract for 2 years, not there, like not working. So it's like, you got Danhausen, who maybe you've heard of, maybe you haven't heard of, and there's been this box gimmick, and now the internet would lead you to believe that they've built it up as to be a big deal, but they definitely had it in like 4 comedy segments over 4 weeks. And if you thought anybody was coming out of there and it was going to be hilarious, like, and it was going to be great and it was going to be a big deal, like, who would you even think it is? Because it's definitely not going to be Chris Jericho. But somehow the internet worked themselves into a tizzy, and we're like, oh god, it's going to be huge. They've hyped it up so much. I think these are also the people who don't actually watch the product. They just read what other people say about the product, and that's how they get their fandom, like, third partied. Like it's a hearsay, because the WWE did nothing but show you that this was going to be a joke the whole time, and then when Danhausen popped out, they were like, "Oh, it's not a big reveal." However, I applaud WWE for doing it this way, because what they've done is they've not catered to the lowest common denominator, to the casual fan. They have said, okay, you guys who like Danhausen, who know who he is, who've been like, this is for you. And, I think I've seen a lot of that. There's a lot of, who the fuck is Danhausen? But then there's a lot of guys like, oh my God, this is going to be the best thing ever. And they go on rants like I just did about him teaming with R-Truth and having segments with The Miz, et cetera, et cetera.
Yeah, I think that you're absolutely right that this was definitely positioned as a comedy segment, and if you didn't see that, shame on you.
Now, the timing of it in the show, I can understand the criticism of that right after.
Yeah, pretty piss poor if you ask me.
I don't know where else you put it.
I think you put it in between the 2 title matches.
Yeah, maybe.
Dead center on the show.
Yeah. That actually wouldn't have been bad.
Because, you had your 2 women's matches, you put that dead center, and then you have your 2 men's matches, and then you go home.
Yeah. Maybe have him fist bump CM Punk on his way out so that, CM Punk can show the crowd, hey, this guy's with me, kind of a thing.
Huh? Pepsi Phil?
Pepsi Phil?
Where did you come from?
Yes.
Last time I saw you, you just choked a guy. Just a little, though.
Just a little bit.
But I think that this is a big time entertainment signing.
Oh, yeah.
There's a lot of folks that are defending this signing on the internet as well as ridiculing it. One tweet that I saw was like, what did you guys expect? WWE has put entertainment first and wrestling second since 1984. Like, what are we talking about here?
Yeah. At what point was this? I think Danhausen is the best thing that could have been in that box.
I agree. I agree.
The only other potential things were literally like Dude Wipes, maybe Prime Energy, or Papa John's Pizza, or R-Truth holding Papa John's Pizza, even though we saw him outside of the box. Not important, but like it was either going to be an ad. This is the best thing it could have been, a weird indie wrestler that plays to like the most devoted fans who like watch wrestling and know who the indie characters are. Like, this is cool as shit. This is the coolest thing it could have been. And everybody needs to recognize that what you got was literally the best thing you could have gotten.
Yeah, 100%. 100%. And I really like your take on this, that like he's going to do some of his best work in AAA. And that was said today on the internet that he is expected to work across all 4 WWE brands, AAA, NXT, SmackDown, and Raw. So he's just going to be out here making up for lost time. So his new shirt on WWE Shop looks pretty cool.
It does. I kind of thought his and Seth Rollins both looked really good. I'm like, oh, do I want 2 shirts?
I really kind of feel like I want to get the AJ Styles Phenomenal for 10 years or whatever it was.
Oh yeah,
I'd really like to grab one of those. But yeah, man, I think that this is great for the product. I think that, despite there being some uproar, I guess, amongst some higher up executives about Danhausen being signed, I just look at it from the standpoint of World Wrestling Entertainment and how much merchandise he's going to sell. They're going to make dolls of this guy.
Oh yeah.
They're going to sell his face paint.
Yeah.
You know,
He's
in
already got a
plastic
cool
mask,
shirt.
You know,
Think about how many Danhausen action figures are going to be sold.
Yeah.
Like, once Mattel gets and they can make him big, like they can make him bigger than they can make him like the Brock Lesnar size. That'll be sweet. Like there's so many cool things you could do because he spent so much time developing this character and working on these little gimmicks and things that it's going to be funny for years because nobody's really seen it.
Yeah, because I mean, unless you are, hardcore into everything and you understand who this guy is and what this guy's about, he can go back and play the hits to this mainstream WWE audience and get all that shit over again. Could you imagine the first time he does the tequila dance on fucking in front of Michael Cole and Wade Barrett?
That's gonna be Wade Barrett's gonna get that over before. What is he doing, Cole? It's gonna be It's gonna be great. Like he's gonna do shit like that. He's going. I wait till he explains to Michael Cole how he can put the teeth. It's not illegal to put the teeth in somebody else's mouth. It's illegal.
That was another thing the internet was asking. Like, Danhausen handed Michael Cole that jar of teeth, and there was definitely a lid on it. And for whatever reason, Michael Cole thought it'd be a good idea to open that jar of teeth.
He took the lid off the teeth. Michael Cole, what's wrong with you?
Like, what the fuck, Michael Cole? You cringy son of a bitch.
He didn't freak out or anything. He took the lid off. That's fucked up. That's fucked up.
I'm here for it, man. I really hope that Danhausen brings some levity to a product that is seemingly lost its way a little bit in the last 12 months. Maybe he will be the welcome distraction to being able to get some of these things back on track.
Yeah. So if we're laughing, we're much more likely to feel things and be ready to.
Yes. I'm here for it. I think you are too. I think that you and I both disagree with the internet's opinion on this signing. I do not believe for 1 second that he is making $11 million a year. And if he is, hey, man, good for him.
Good for him if he is. But I never understood why, like, Dave would say things in, like, very derogatory ways to be, like, tattletale. Like, well, Danhausen's making $11 million, just like Roman Reigns. Like, buddy, no, first of all, whoever told you that, idiot. Second of all, like, you believe that? Really? What the fuck? Like, yeah.
That's Uncle Dave for you, buddy. That's Uncle Dave for you. All right, my man. Well, I feel like we've come to the point in time where there's only one piece of business left in this glorious, glorious show, and that is the world famous. It's not just us saying it; other people say it.
AI says it.
Google AI says it. One Fall WrestleCast match of the week.
So actually, I'm not going to pick a match from Elimination Chamber because tonight on Raw, and I'm going to forget about it by this time next week because I already watched it. Tonight on Raw, Gunther took on Dragon Lee, and it didn't get a ton of time, but it got maybe 8-9 minutes. Oh my God, what they did in 8-9. First of all, Gunther is killing Dragon Lee, killing the man. Has him beat, decides not to pin him, takes him outside of the ring, power bombs him more there. Somehow, by the grace of God, Dragon Lee flips it around, sunset flip power bomb Gunther on the concrete, and then they beat some countouts back and forth. This was the part I liked the most, is they kind of were like back and forth beating countouts while they're outside of the ring. I'm a stickler for a countout. They used the countout very well in this match. Eventually Gunther did win. He actually ripped Dragon Lee's mask off and then put him in the sleeper hold, and Dragon Lee tapped right away. So it was a really cool, like, just whatever 9-10 minutes. Like it was the way they put it together. It was like, all right, we got this much time. We're both going to look amazing after this. Like Dragon Lee, like Gunther looked dominant, but Dragon Lee was always fighting from underneath. And there was a few seconds where you're like, oh my God, is he going to beat him? Is Gunther going to beat the count out? That was what it was. It wasn't that he was going to pin him. It was that Gunther was he going to beat the count out or not? But yeah, fantastic match, and not a match we've seen 10,000 times where it just ends in a roll up or something. The back and forth count out thing is continues to be one of my favorite very often, and they really did a good job with it.
I have two because we missed last week, and I would be remiss to not mention this particular match from last week, and that was from AEW Dynamite. Kenny Omega versus Swerve Strickland. We definitely got a glimpse at the best bout machine in Kenny Omega. I don't know if Swerve Strickland brought the best out of Kenny Omega, or if those guys just decided that they were just going to tear the fucking house down. But that match was amazing.
Yeah, I feel like Swerve is always amazing. I kind of like. I don't want to say I dismiss it, but it's just like one of those things where it's like you watch the guy, it's like, man, this guy is so good. He's probably the best worker in AEW right now, if not the best. His feud with Samoa Joe was fantastic. Brought me back to AEW.
So I definitely needed to mention that, and then obviously we poured over it. CM Punk, Finn Balor. What a great match that was. I will agree with Roman Reigns, though. Did you see his tweet after the match?
About the, enjoy
he said, I'm not sure who was more tired, the champion or the crowd. Yeah. Punk definitely looked tired after that match. But they beat the fuck out of each other. So much so that when Punk did the table,
the
post match out there, he had like rope burn on his face.
he looked pretty bad.
And he cut a great promo in response to Roman Reigns' tweet. The Rusty Reigns thing, I think, didn't hit the way that he thought it was going to.
It always is hard to like make fun of somebody's name. It sounds bad now.
But it was a very, very good match. And yeah.
Finn was going to get pinned, though. Knew it going in. So I said, that's my only sort of gripe with it, is that like they're not going to take it off of Punk.
So that's it, though. That's my couple matches of the week here for the last 2 weeks. Excited about Danhausen. Excited about AJ Styles. Royce Keys is going to be just fine. LA Knight's going to be just fine. Division will
hopefully they'll heal.
They'll figure it out.
Hopefully they'll heal. Good Lord.
So let's not worry. Let's just enjoy the ride, even if it's bumpy and it might not take some turns that we think that it should. But I think WrestleMania will wind up being okay. Ticket sales might not be great, but I think the show itself is going to wind up being okay.
Hey, hopefully people get to score some like $20 tickets day of. That'd be good for them.
Wow, wouldn't that be fucking amazing?
It'd be amazing. That'd be the best wrestling storyline of the year.
Checking on fucking Friday night.
StubHub. Got him.
Checking the old StubHub Friday night and just being like, oh, red eye.
Exactly.
So I'd even be willing to stay at Circus for that fucking and that's saying a lot. That place a fucking nightmare. Yeah. So hey man, if you're still hanging out with us, man, we appreciate you. Go ahead, hit that thumbs up button, maybe even consider subscribing. We would greatly appreciate it. You can check us out wherever you consume your podcasts, Spotify, Apple Music, etc. Check us out over on Twitter and Instagram at @1_fall WC. That's ONE. And as always, thanks for hanging out. It's all love. We'll catch you next week. One Fall WrestleCast. Oh, it's way past your bedtime there, old man.
Uh-oh.